We may not care about the results in a 13-13 preseason tie, but there was actually some significant things to take away from the Colts' performance against the Patriots on Thursday. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Colts on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am your host, Jake Arthur, the Indianapolis Colts beat writer for Roundtable Sports. And today we are wrapping up our coverage of the Indianapolis Colts 13-13 tie with the New England Patriots on Thursday night. It was their preseason opener. The first time we have seen them on the field against somebody else since the beginning of January. They have put 10 training camp practices in the book so far this summer, including a joint practice against the Patriots on Tuesday. And now we finally got to see them in a real game setting again. And again, wins and losses in the preseason are meaningless. But there was so many, I think, substantial things to take away from this game. A lot of things to look optimistically toward with the future. There was a lot of big rookie performances. I think there's plenty for us to talk about when it comes to the quarterback position. But defensively overall, I think we saw that this group does have some depth, and they actually could be pretty good because we really didn't see the vast majority of the starters in this matchup. But there is a little bit of depth if the Colts were to need to tap into that a little bit. But let's just go ahead and talk about the offense first. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks because, of course, why wouldn't we? So the plan for the Colts going into this with the quarterbacks was for Anthony Richardson to start the game and play the first half, and then Riley Leonard would take over and play the second half. They're going to flip-flop that next week, next Saturday against the Falcons. It'll be Riley Leonard starting, and then Anthony Richardson in the second half. And it didn't look like it was going to be a good day at the office for Anthony at first. If you paid attention to Twitter and then saw nothing else for the rest of the day, you probably would have thought it was a disaster scenario. He did start out pretty shaky. Initially, his first pass was he threw off platform to Will Mallory, and it was low, and it was just an ugly ball. And then later in the drive, he threw an outside ball to Coleman Owen too high. Now, Owen should have caught it because he got both hands on it, but it slipped out of Owen's grasp and into the hands of a Patriots defender for an interception. So on that first drive alone, you get an ugly throw, you get an interception, and then it's like, of course, here we go again. And then it didn't really improve right away either, because you got a fumble in the red zone by Seth McGowan after they get all the way down to essentially the goal line. Richardson himself fumbled again after like a 10-yard run. So it really started to kind of spiral. And it wasn't until about 4 or 5 minutes left in the first half that we really saw Richardson settle in and perform really, really well. But here's kind of his body of work. He was 11 of 14 passing, which is 78.6%. I've got to imagine that might be his best completion percentage ever in a game since being in the pros. Had 145 yards, which is a yards per attempt of over 10. Great number. No passing touchdowns. He wasn't sacked either, which is great to see. He showed really good escapability there when it came to pressure bearing down on him. Again, had the interception and the fumble lost. Ultimately, a passer rating of 80.1, which is okay. I mean, you obviously want to kind of shoot for higher. But when you're looking at specifically Richardson, there are, again, very specific things you want to see him kind of excel at. And I think he kind of checked some of those boxes. As a rusher, he carried the ball 6 times for 53 yards, which is almost 9 yards per carry, and a touchdown. So when I mentioned that he started to really get more comfortable at the end of the first half, first and foremost, when you saw him run the ball, I thought that was really opportunistic. At one point, he got the Colts out of the deep in their own territory, ran the ball, had a pump fake, got them out. They still had to punt, but it was a good job to not get them backed up into their own goal line. He almost had a touchdown at one point, but he slipped down at like the inches marker. and then had a 22-yard run. The one where he fumbled was a 10-yard run, but if you don't fumble on that, then it looks like a pretty good run. So really productive runner overall. But then when you get down closer to the end of the first half, he had a bunch of throws that resulted in first downs, and they weren't, 2nd and 5 or anything. They were beyond the sticks, like on early downs, over 10-yard throws. Had a first down one to DJ Montgomery, had one to Eli Pankel, had 3 of them to Will Mallory, who we'll talk about more here in just a moment. Earlier in the game, had, I think, a 19-yard completion along the left sideline to Nick Westbrook-Akina. So I think we know what Anthony Richardson is at this point. I don't think he's ever going to be a quarterback that has the full catalog of, he's going to have an entire game where he does just like the short, small, boring stuff. I think very much he's a vertically minded quarterback who can run the ball. And as long as he takes care of the ball, I think that's what you're going to get in Anthony Richardson. Again, a guy who pushes the ball, he's going to run it a bit. That's probably what the best of Anthony Richardson looks like. So if he cleans up some of the mistakes from earlier in the game, I think this was like an optimal version of the Anthony Richardson experience. Ultimately got the Colts, into a couple scoring opportunities. As far as Riley Leonard taking over in the second half, this looked a lot more like one of the ugly Anthony Richardson games, to be honest with you. 10 of 21 passing, which is just 47.6%, 89 yards, which is a yards per attempt of 4.2. No touchdowns, was sacked once, threw an interception. He fumbled, which he also recovered, so he didn't lose that. But really just kind of an ugly performance from Leonard. I thought he held on to the ball quite a bit. Now, he dealt with pressure a lot in this game and had guys in his grill as he was throwing, but he was pretty inaccurate with that. On the interception he threw, it was on his first drive of the game in the second half. On 1st and 10, I think it was, had a defender right in his face and just basically punted it. Just threw it way up downfield, was nowhere near the receiver. Just kind of, he's got some gunslinger in him, and I think when he makes mistakes, it's not necessary. It's just like careless throws. You know what I mean? With Anthony, when he throws interceptions, a lot of times, sometimes it's careless, but the main issue is that it's just like an inaccurate pass that bounces off a receiver's hands because it wasn't put in the right spot, or it's a miscommunication as to like the depth of the route or things like that. With Leonard, I think it's just like careless throws sometimes, and that's absolutely what this interception was. So a good opportunity for Leonard to bounce back next week against the Falcons. He will get to run with some slightly better players than what he got to play with on Thursday. I don't think it's a total excuse, though, because they did play with a lot of the same players. Leonard just happened to play all throughout and got really kind of the scraps once you're getting towards like the end of the game. The offensive line play wasn't quite as good as when Richardson was out there either, but Richardson also did a great job of avoiding pressure. Other offensive players who I thought had notable performances, Seth McGowan, I think, looked pretty good. He did have that fumble on the goal line, but I think the vast majority of us kind of disagree with the call on the referees there. McGowan, I thought, had already crossed the goal line, and it was late in the play when the fumble even happened, and I think he was anticipating that it was going to be blown dead because he crossed the goal line. But in kind of a vulnerable spot, the ball was punched out, and the referees didn't want to do anything about it, apparently, and go back and really scrutinize it further. So, yeah, it was ultimately ruled a fumble when it probably should have been a touchdown. Earlier in the game, he had a 9-yard run. He also had a good run in the low red zone, which really got them into position to score in the first place. I think that was on the same drive with the fumble. So just a good, determined runner. Had some productive runs there. Anderson Castle averaged over 5 yards per carry on 9 carries, including an 18-yard run. I thought he looked good and physical. He looked exactly like you would hope he would look. And then Will Mallory, the final guy we're going to talk about on the offensive side of the ball, tied a game high with 6 catches on 7 targets, so he caught almost everything. led all players in the game with 80 yards, had catches of 7, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 19 yards. So the guy was all over the place. Had a catch near the end of the first half where it was tipped by the defender, and he caught it off of the tip, falling to the ground. So Will Mallory, incredibly talented player, really good pass catcher. You just hope that the Colts can finally figure this thing out and get him some playing time. Because in 3 years, he's been active for just 24 out of a possible 51 games. Because he just doesn't really play special teams and he doesn't block the run that well. Still, I think you're wasting a guy with that sort of talent by not being able to ever find a way to get him on the field. So however you need to do it, they have 2 blocking tight ends. So why can they not have 2 pass catching tight ends as well? And just divvy it up a little bit. Like, it doesn't always have to be Mo and Ogletree active every week. Maybe you give Mallory some of those opportunities against defenses that maybe don't do well against stretch tight ends. So I digress. That's for a different episode coming later on, closer to the season. But yeah, Will Mallory was a stud, and we hope to see him a little bit more once the regular season gets here. So coming up, guys, I had a lot of notes for defensive players, and I honestly kind of cut myself short. I could have rambled on and on, but we'll go ahead and talk about the defensive side of the ball here in just a moment. Running a business should not feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. You got one for accounting, one for inventory, and another for sales, and somehow none of them seem to talk to each other. But that's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone on the same page trying to accomplish the same goal. And that's true in sports just like it is in business. Look at some of the kind of Colts-based items we're talking about here. I think they all were kind of on the same page this offseason, where it was, defensively, we need to get younger, more athletic, but offensively, we kind of need to lean into what made us good in the first half. You re-sign Daniel Jones, you re-sign Alec Pierce, and then, you maybe get fresher and more explosive on offense by taking Michael Pittman Jr.'s targets and divvying them up to your more high-end players. So everyone seemed to be on board with that. You could tell it wasn't just a reactionary move. It was really thought out. And the organization had a vision, and they stuck to it. And now you're seeing the results throughout the summer because everyone was working from the same playbook. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. And Locked On Colts is also brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's super easy to play. You just make your free pick for who you think is going to hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use for your next bet or a chance at extra winnings. Best of all is you can make a free pick every single day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games. I mean, it's baseball, so there's a lot of them. Whether you're following your favorite team or you're just keeping an eye on every matchup across the league. Every game has someone capable of going yard, and now you get the chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. There's certain players who every at-bat feels like something big could happen. That's what makes Daily Dingers fun. You get to back the player that you think is going to go deep that day. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are talking about the Colts' 13-13 tie against the Patriots in the preseason opener. Before we move on to talk about the defense, though, don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free audio episodes and access to a group chat with other listeners of the show, as well as Zach and myself. Just tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedoncolts.supercast.com to join today. All right, so again, let's talk about this defense. I had a ton of notes when I rewatched. I just started jotting down all these like really solid plays that I saw from the depth players on the Colts. So let's start with something that was a little unchill first. And it leads me to, I think we all really can agree that the Colts need Sauce Gardner, Charvarius Ward, and Justin Wally to stay healthy this year. I don't dislike the depth of Mekhi Blackman and Jonathan Edwards and Cam Taylor-Britt, but those guys I much more would like to see in like dime scenarios where they're complementary pieces and not having to play 55, 60 snaps because the other guys are banged up. So Blackman on the first defensive drive of the day had 2 defensive pass interference calls, which in a preseason game, that's inexcusable. In a regular season game, that's the kind of stuff that can get some guys cut. So it was really not good. One of them was on 3rd down, which of course extended the drive. Another one was on 1st and 10, which got the offense, the Patriots offense, into the red zone. They ultimately got a field goal out of that, and it was basically all just gifted to them by Blackman. Later on, if we're talking about guys who kind of struggled in coverage a little bit, Jonathan Edwards, I had really high hopes for him coming into the season, and I'm not like completely out on him, but Zach and I have talked about last year he was typically in position to make a play. He just like had no awareness of where the ball was. He was always playing the receiver and never turned around to play the ball. And so he was always where he needed to be, but not reacting quickly enough to make a play on the ball. I thought on Thursday, not only was he a step behind receivers and playing chase a lot, but he still didn't know where the ball was. I thought he got victimized quite a few times. There was even one where he gave up a deep shot of like 48 yards, and he got fortunate enough that it got called back by a penalty on the offense. I think it was like illegal man downfield or something that really didn't factor into what Edwards allowed to happen. But then later he gave up like a 12-yard touchdown. There was one where he was playing catch up on a drag route, and the first down occurred. So it was really a not good performance for Edwards. It was not a good performance for Blackman. I didn't really notice anything bad happening to Cam Taylor-Britt in this one. He, I think, played generally fine, but he is just one part of like that 3-man backup core to the starters there. So certainly not the best performance we have seen from the Colts depth corners, especially considering we've been saying this might be the deepest group on the entire roster. Where the cornerbacks really struggled, I thought the linebackers were phenomenal. So there was a play early in the game where Austin Ejike made a tackle on 3rd down in the red zone, which forced a field goal. Jalen Carlisle had to run stuff. And then there was a series where in 3 consecutive plays, back to back, Bryce Betcher, Austin Ejike, and Jalen Carlisle all made big plays to force a field goal attempt, and the Patriots missed this one. So those 3 guys really put the defense in a great position to succeed there, quickly got the Patriots offense off the field, and again, missed field goal. 3 missed field goals by New England. That kicker is not having a good time. Mike Vrabel did not lend him any support after the game either. I don't know if you guys saw the quotes on that one, but Mike Vrabel kind of flamed his kicker after this one. On the interior line, I noticed a lot from Adetomiwa Adebawore and Michael Clemens, who plays inside and out. I thought Tommy was very active as a pass rusher on the interior, had a good pressure on 3rd down, which set up a punt by the Patriots offense. Had another one later on that set up a 3rd and long. Michael Clemens and Tommy, they came together on a run stuff on a 3rd down deep in Patriots territory. Clemens had a quarterback hit later on as well. So I've been very pleasantly surprised by Clemens. I had kind of low expectations of him coming into this just because his history in New York has not been great. We liked him coming out of Texas A&M several years ago just because he's a big, strong guy with, position flexibility to play inside and out. but has done very little in the NFL. But I think he's had a really solid summer going from training camp and now into the preseason. So Jonathan Edwards, if we're talking defense, not maybe the greatest day, but special teams, I thought he made a couple big plays. Him and Jonathan Owens both are going to be stepping into significant special teams roles. I saw them both make some special team stops in this one. AJ Halsey, rookie, presumably starting rookie strong safety. I thought he showed really good ability to make tackles in the open field. He didn't play a whole lot in this one, mostly just the first half. But I thought he had some good open field stops, including one on third down that forced a field goal attempt. Let's see, Rob Carter Jr., who is probably he's one of the very last corners on the roster. He's probably your third nickel. He could play outside as well, but he made a couple of big plays. He blew up a screen pass. He had a pass breakup that he nearly intercepted. He's been kind of hot and cold throughout training camp. If he's going up against Anthony Richardson, he's really, really good. But if he's going up against Riley Leonard, he has struggled a little bit. So it's kind of interesting to see that dynamic there. But arguably the biggest defensive performer of the entire game on either side, the Patriots or the Colts, I thought was Caden Curry. I noticed him immediately, and I noticed him throughout the remainder of the game until the final whistle blew. He was everywhere. Statistically, 6 tackles, 2 for loss, a sack, 3 quarterback hits, and 2 batted passes. But it felt like so much more than that. He was always around the ball. When he was on the backside of the play, he was chasing and he was in hot pursuit of the ball at all times. Like Caden Curry, I know this was a preseason game against other backups and everything, but I'm super encouraged by this performance. He's the kind of guy where you look at his production at Ohio State and he does not have good measurables. He's not like an elite athlete or anything. So you're like, how does he win? It's just like the guy has such a natural feel for how to play football. He is absolutely a gamer. And I kind of have high hopes for him going forward that he might be able to contribute defensively more than I initially thought. I thought because of the amount of guys the Colts have at defensive end, George Gums, who also had a really solid performance. Guy flies around the ball, makes a lot of plays. He's always very noticeable as well. But Caden Curry and George Gums, I figured defensively, probably mostly a redshirt year for them, and they'll get in quite a bit on special teams. But man, these guys might be vying for more snaps on defense than I initially thought. Like, if they're popping and making this many plays and they're keeping themselves this involved with the ball, and like Jalen Tuamaloau, for example, who really underwhelmed in this matchup, like I saw him move around the ball a little bit. Like I had him with a pressure. I had him, with at least one run stop. But overall, as a pass rusher, very underwhelming. If a guy like that is just kind of floating out in the ether, not really doing much, and you got guys like Caden Curry and George Gums actually making a difference, then they might start to eat into his snaps a little bit. So overall, I was really encouraged by this game. The Colts probably not only should have won, but probably should have won comfortably. The 4 turnovers just really did them in. And when you look at a game that ends in a tie and one team turned the ball over 4 times, that's the determining factor there in the win and loss or tie. So yeah, that's all I've got for this one, guys. The Colts hit the practice field again Saturday and Sunday, and then they've got 2 joint practices with the Atlanta Falcons this next week before their preseason home opener on Saturday at Lucas Oil Stadium again against the Falcons. So we have got a loaded next several days for you. It's going to be a really good week to follow us, of course. And so again, thanks for joining me. It's kind of late at night here. Been waiting on NFL Plus to load all day so that I could rewatch the game. So again, thank you for making this concession and joining us late tonight. So after this listen, go ahead and check out the Locked On NFL Top 100, where you can find that on Locked On Sports Today. We also did a reaction show about it. So the Locked On NFL Top 100 was voted on by an NFL host of the Locked On Podcast Network, including yours truly. Our Top 100 was formed by experts who cover these teams and players every single day. Again, find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, we also released a reaction show based on the Colts that made the list and the ones that did not make the list. So go back and check that out as well. If you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on social media. If you never miss an episode, then the Everydayer Club is built just for you. Get our audio ad-free plus members-only Discord access and much more. Just head to lockedoncolts.supercast.com to join the club today. And with that, you guys have a great night, and we will be back with you Saturday covering practice.